back here on Weekend Joe here on Claibs Online, driven by Munganass St. Louis Acura and Munganass Burkhart Alton Toyota, and what's become an annual tradition the week before we head to Radio Row. We are joined by Ross Tucker, who you avoid all of that nowadays. You just stay at home and do your own thing after a full, well, I guess now 18-week NFL season plus all the playoffs. Ross, how you doing, man?
I am doing awesome, Joe. Always great to see it. Your open gets better every year, man. You're like inspiration. I always, every year I look forward to it, and I wish I was the one that was changing mine up like you do.
You do enough how it is. How many different shows are you doing every week now?
Well, so the Raw Sucker Football Podcast, I do 9 episodes.
Yeah.
So 5 Raw Sucker Football Podcasts, and then the Fantasy Feast, Even Money Betting, College Draft. So I kind of have that going with my network. And then in terms of like radio stations I go on or shows I do, man, I have no idea. At least 3 or 4 a day. But it's awesome, man. I mean, right now I'm in my house in Pennsylvania and talking with you about football, and you know, it could be a lot worse. I'm trying to avoid a real job as long as I can.
And of course, you're brought to us each and every year by myfrontpagestory.com. The most unique Valentine's Day gift that there is, Ross. You've been telling us about it for years now.
Yes, and for people watching, I'm showing you right now. It is amazing. Listen, I know the way it is. It's February now. I've been married almost 20 years. It's like a gift card, or you don't really know what to do. Flowers. I'm convinced, Joe, at least once every 5 years, you got to change it up. You got to do something cool, different, unique. There's nothing better than this. Talk to a writer for 10 minutes. Tell them how great your significant other is. They write this unbelievable story. Looks like it should be on the cover of the newspaper, St. Louis Dispatch, whatever. I'm showing you right now. And the 2 keys, just to be able to say, honey, I want to do something special this year for you. So as she's opening it up, I had a story written about you. That is so money, it's not even funny. And then the new one, because I've seen this like 5 videos now, Joe, when you're talking to the writer, make sure you say to them, I just never thank her enough for all the little things she does. Even if you can't think of anything she does, just say that. They cry every time, dude. It is money. myfrontpagestory.com, myfrontpagestory.com. Trust me.
So, Ross, next week, all eyes are going to be on Las Vegas, the Chiefs and the 49ers. I want to know what you've thought of the postseason so far, because it seems like with these coaching changes, not only in the NFL, but also in college football, to me, it seems like that is almost taken some of the spotlight away from the actual games on the field, because it seems like all of this, the coaching carousel, these are bigger names than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, most of them don't have jobs. You know, I mean, Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll all looking like they're getting shut out of this cycle. I mean, that's probably the most interesting story, right? All 3 of those guys pretty clearly want to be head coaches, and yet they're not. And you're talking about 2 all-time greats in Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. Another guy who I think anybody would have told you the last 5 years was one of the top 10 head coaches in the NFL. So, whether those guys overplayed their hand or what, I mean, you can't even say the defensive thing, because 5 of the 8 guys that got hired were defensive head coaches.
Yeah. So and I can't imagine. Do you think we see any of those openings during Super Bowl week, or is it going to be a freeze until afterwards?
Well, what do you mean? Now that they're all filled, what?
Is everything filled now? Did I miss something earlier today?
No, Dan Quinn was the last one, so every head coach is filled now. So there are no more. I don't think there will be ones that would.
Well, then, yeah,
I
guess I missed that earlier. I guess I missed that one earlier today. So, all right then. I guess it is all eyes on the game now in Las Vegas. It's the Chiefs once again. I mean, as soon as one dynasty ends, it just picks right back up into a new one. And really, if you're not a fan of the Patriots or the Chiefs, if you're just on the outside waiting for your team to get in there, it's got to be real frustrating to be a fan of a football team in the AFC this past 2 decades now.
It's a great point. And I think if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, they clearly are a dynasty. because that will be 3 over the last 5 years, and they've been in 4 of them. It's incredibly impressive. I can't even hardly put into words how hard it is to do what they're doing. Winning playoff games is hard. I mean, ask the Buffalo Bills and even this year the Eagles and the Cowboys and whatever, let alone the Ravens and the Lions. I mean, winning playoff games is really, really hard to do. It's truly impressive what the Chiefs have been able to do, as well as the Niners, I would say to a lesser extent. But yeah, man, I mean, there's only one dynasty a decade. You
Yeah.
know, the 70s was the Steelers, the 80s was the Niners, the 90s was the Cowboys, the 2000s were the Patriots, and I guess the 2010s were the Patriots too. And looks pretty clear like the Chiefs have a great chance to punch their ticket as being, the dynasty of the 2020s.
And it's, when you look at the past, these teams just played each other 4 years ago in the Super Bowl, but these are not close to being the same teams. Outside of Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, outside of Shanahan on the 49ers side, both of these teams, and I guess it's a testament to the front office, just how different, how much both teams had to change to remain here at the top of their games. And starting with the Chiefs, I mean, how much did we see them struggle this year to kind of find their identity before they picked it up here these last few weeks of the postseason and make it back to the Super Bowl? I mean, that says so much about Andy Reid.
And you know what? I probably say this to you every year. Do you feel like more and more folks from St. Louis become Chiefs fans every year?
Yeah. Oh, so there is a huge segment of people that just quit the NFL completely or maybe found a new team. But I don't know if it is the fans here. I don't know if it's the Chiefs themselves and their marketing department. They have completely just saturated St. Louis with all kinds of red and white and gold here in town, that you go into the grocery store and you see all of the Chief setups there leading into the playoffs and leading into every Sunday. They've done a good job. For as much as St. Louis wanted to hate the NFL, Kansas City came in here and they put their footprint right in St. Louis to kind of make it their market.
Wow. That is really interesting. Kudos to them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for being smart. How far away is it? I'm assuming they get every one of the games on TV there.
You know what? So I do Red Zone every week. So honestly, I don't know what the local games are every week. But with the Chiefs, I mean, they're prime time almost every weekend. So it really doesn't even matter for the most part if you're going to get them, locally in your market
Yeah,
these
that's a
days.
good
Yeah.
point. That's a really good point.
The, this 49er team, I have Kurt Warner on next week. And when you talk about the quarterback position and you talk about going to multiple Super Bowls, Kurt Warner, a guy that went undrafted and to end up being a Hall of Famer. Brock Purdy now, his first 2 years from being Mr. Irrelevant now to leading this team there. Why do people, I remember when Kurt was his first year in St. Louis, how highly regarded he was at winning the MVP. Why don't people give that same kind of credit to Brock Purdy? Why is Brock Purdy seen as a game manager?
Well, I think a big part of it was because, I mean, people were skeptical of Kurt for a while, but the numbers they were putting up were just so big in terms of points that, the league hadn't seen for a while with the greatest show on turf. Plus, Kurt was driving the ball down the field more, I think, than people see from Purdy. And that's one of, I would say, I guess, the two problems that I would say that Brock Purdy's sort of fighting against. Number one, we live, Joe, in such a like social media highlight reel society. He's not throwing bombs like Josh Allen. He's not doing the sideways sidewinder like Mahomes. He's not running all over the place like Lamar Jackson. He's just efficiently getting the ball out on time to who it should be, where they should be, when they should get it. And that's not real sexy, right? It's kind of like Tom Brady-esque, to be honest with you. And one reason why people almost his whole career called Tom Brady a system quarterback. Same type of deal. And then the other thing is I just call it draftism. We are so much holding to the draft. Whatever a guy like Zach Wilson, how many chances was he going to get with the Jets? And he'll get another chance with somebody else this offseason because of the whole, oh, he's talented. He was the number 2 overall pick. Meanwhile, Purdy plays bad one time and people will jump all over it because I think they want to believe that they were right and that the people making the decisions for the draft were right, whether they were or not.
Ross, you've been on the road for 20, 25 weeks of the NFL season, preseason, playoffs, everything. So Super Bowl Sunday, what does that look like at the Ross Tucker household watching Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, this one will be a little bit different, but it's interesting because the last few years, I'm usually home and my family usually goes somewhere for a party, but I can't handle that, bro. Like I can't handle all the other people asking me questions and stuff. Can't do it. I've actually gone for the pregame, ate their food, and then left to come back to my house to actually watch the game. This year, I'll actually be in studio for CBS in New York, strictly as a backup, Joe. Strictly in case, there's some type of power outage or something happens out in Vegas, in the city of Las Vegas. They got your boy on standby.
Didn't realize they did that, and now we know. Ross, thank you so much. You can see there at Ross Tucker NFL is where you can follow him, and in the link here, we'll get it posted for myfrontpagestory.com. Ross, we love having you on each and every year, man. Be well.
I love it. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me, buddy.